So today we're going to be completing the handle for the hand-forged garden rake. What we're going to be using is 8-quarter flat sawn #1 clear hickory, Tennessee hickory, the best handle material in the world. And when you're buying handles or you're making your own handles, make sure that the grain orientation is correctly. You see how the growth rings are up and down? They need to be perpendicular with the tool. So whatever the load is, whether it be an axe and the blade was here and the pole was up there, it would want to be running up and down with your work. You're going to get your maximum strength that way. We'll start here is with this reduced area. Draw a line around there so I'm symmetrical, but we want to bring this nicely down and match the square and melt into the round. Tool that I just started using. It's a little, I believe what they call a spoke shave. And this came to me through my granddad, that big box that he gave me with all the hardware in it. There were 2 of these in there. I'd never used one before, but it's such a nice little tool because it's like a draw knife, but you can set the depth so you don't get too deep. And I found that it works perfect for these handles for just taking off just the right amount. So I'm just finishing up the transition from the square where the tool head will go to the round handle. Isn't that just a beautiful transition? It looks so nice. You know, tools don't have to be strictly utilitarian. You can make them into works of art. You can make them beautiful and functional at the same time. They don't just need to be senseless hunks of metal. But Japanese style handle, meaning no taper. We'll go right to the end to a little dome end, but it's elegant, useful, and man, it feels good in the hand. That squared off round feel. So here's the completed handle. Is it perfect? No. But neither am I, so we make a pretty good pair. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to use a Japanese style of wedge setup for this that I haven't done before, but I've seen it, and it's very elegant and it looks very functional too. So we'll start out by carving a traditional wedge, just like we would for an axe. Make sure that it's not any wider than the shank. Right here, you don't want it to spread, so the perfect width. It's about right there. We'll clean it up. A little bit more. You want to determine how deep your head's going to sit and mark this so you don't knock these corners off back here. Part of the beauty, or I think a big part of the beauty of this handle, are these square, clean edges, and I don't want to go beyond where the head will sit. I like to maintain these all the way up into the head. Boy, that's good steel. Just hear it ring and ring. Now we'll get ready to set our wedge. This time we cut our kerf is running forward and backwards, you'll see here. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to put some linseed oil on this wedge before we drive it in. I wouldn't do this too early beforehand and allow the thing to swell up on you, but I don't see any harm in doing it now. Bring this all the way to the back, and be sure when you're pounding wedges you don't hit the wedge itself, because you'll strike on one side and you'll split it. So make sure you get a block that's at least as wide as the wedge and then seat it. How far is enough? When I start seeing, if you look right here, when I start seeing wood start to be shaven off the side of the wedge, that's a pretty good indicator that you're pretty tight. With our wedge seated, we're going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to flush cut this just because of the particular design, the double wedge that we're going to do. You can leave these long, it doesn't hurt anything. So we got our flush cut there. Isn't that pretty with that wedge in there? Looks really nice. So with a square head like this that doesn't have any taper in it, a double wedge is not a bad idea at all. And this is a popular style in hand-forged tools from Japan. But I found this really old hand-forged step wedge. You can see, very unique. And I left this just a little bit shy, just maybe a 64th of an inch, and we're gonna center that like that, and that's the way it's gonna stay. We have a lot more wedge in the future. If this handle starts to loosen up, we can drive that in there, but that is the way it's done. You can see there. It won't interfere with the working of the tool, and I think it looks kind of cool, and I think it's a great way to fix a handle. And the last thing, we'll put our Wranglerstar maker's mark. If you're going to spend this much time building wooden handles for your tools, take care of them by putting boiled linseed oil on them. Kind of the rule of thumb is every day for a week. Keep putting it on. It'll just drink it up, and then once a month or so for the first year, and then after that once a year. That will prevent your tools from cracking. It'll develop a beautiful, nice patina on them and cause them to last indefinitely. I'm really pleased with the way this turned out. This is one of my favorite things I've ever built. It's purposely built for a specific design. I'll show you here in a minute at the end of the video. But boy, it's just beautiful. The handle is slim, and it has a petite feel, but also very strong. Japanese, kind of a Japanese style or influence, which is so beautiful. But boy, that's pretty. The double wedge, hand forged tines, a lot of work. I know a lot of you guys have asked about building some tools or ordering some tools, and the simple fact is I think they would just be too expensive. The amount of time that goes into it, hand forging things like this, I use all reclaimed metal. This steel for these tines is probably 150 years old. I dug it out of the ground, a big chunk of steel, a flat bar that was down in the lower pasture, and cut it out with my plasma torch and forged these tines. So that that takes a lot of time. And flat sawn, clear #1 hickory from Tennessee at $12 to $14 a foot. That just in materials alone, there's a lot of money in this. Not to mention all of the time that goes into it. To put a value on something like this, where I could, keep the lights on, would be, $400, and who's going to pay that? So it's got to be kind of a labor of love. But boy, I sure am proud of this one. Really, it really gives me pleasure. This is a gorgeous design. Let's go. Let me show you what it's designed for, and it'll explain why it's so heavy. So the original design of this was for Mrs. Wranglerstar's compost bin. She needed something that was heavy, had some heft, that would penetrate and break down her compost. And it's really good for that. Something that she won't break. She's already broke her last pitchfork. And hopefully keep her mind on me every time she uses it.